Look at it here. There is a word steepness here. There is a change in x over change, change in y over change in x. You have here a positive slope. You have here another slope here. You have a rise over run. The amount of slant. Yeah, we have here this equation. So, let's define slope now technically. Pero first thing, slope is simply the steepness of a line. How steep is the line? Is it like this steep or this steep? So this line is steeper compared with this line. Kaya kung magpadung na siya barog, the more steeper it is. Kung magpadung na siya horizontally, like muhigda na siya, that's less ang steepness niya. Tiltation, or the tilt or the inclination of a line. The ratio of the vertical change to the horizontal change. The change in y over the change of x. Use M. Take note, we will be using this letter to represent slope. And lastly, we will be having this formula for slope. And we will be having this tomorrow for our next session. Okay? So, for today, let's focus on figures, mga equations. But before that, let's have the 4 special slopes. When I say positive slope, if I'm gonna graph this, this is the graph of a positive slope. How do you describe your graph here? It's simply slanting upward to the right. So take note, if the graph is slanting upward to the right, therefore, the slope is positive. And take note, it is greater than 0. So just take note of this. If you're given a graph that is slanting upward to the right, expect that your answer should be positive. If in case like you have a graph like this, it's simply slanting upward to the left or slanting downward to the right, this is a negative slope. And your answer is a negative value because the slope here is less than 0. So take note, the first one, a positive slope, is slanting upward to the right. Ang second example nato, the second slope, special kind, is simply slanting downward to the right or slanting upward to the left. Some books they described it this manner: slanting upward from left to right. This one is slanting upward from right to left. But if you're gonna use the word downward, you can. It's slanting downward from right to left. Or left to right, I mean. Okay, if you're gonna use downward. Next, what about vertical slope? So for sure, this is the slope of vertical lines. And the value is undefined. So take note, if you are given a vertical line, the slope is undefined. You will not be writing any value. You will be simply writing undefined. What if I'm going to have a horizontal line? Therefore, the slope is a horizontal slope. And the value of the slope is 0. So take note of these 4 special slopes. Positive slope, negative slope, vertical slope, which is an undefined slope, a horizontal slope wherein the slope is equal to 0. Now, let's go back to the figures a while ago. This ladder, what is the slope for this ladder? Is it positive, negative, undefined, or 0?
Positive.
Positive slope because the ladder is slanting upward from left to right. Therefore, it's a positive slope. What about this figure here?
Negative slope.
This is an example of a negative slope that is slanting downward from left to right. What about this figure here, this bridge here?
Horizontal slope.
This is it. And what's the value of the slope?
0.
0 slope for this. What about the last figure, the skyscrapers that we have?
Vertical slope.
Okay, vertical slope for that. So these are concrete examples wherein you can see the slope. Now, what if your building has a negative slope? Mubarog ka ng building kung naa siya positive slope, depende sa iyang inclination. Kay, remember one tower? What's the name of the tower? That is not like nakahandag siya how many degrees? The Leaning Tower. Are you familiar with the Leaning Tower at Pisa?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
it's not a straight tower. It's leaning. It's nakanana si angle nga giform. Pero wa siya matumba. Nga naman, ang center of gravity is just wala man mula pa sa iyang center. Okay? Sa center of gravity. Now, let's go back to our lesson. Now, this time, what if I will give you a graph and we will be finding the slope. So in this example, we will be using this formula over here. The formula rise over run. When I say rise, what do you mean by that? That is? Gusaka. Na ba'y rising nga muubos? Wala, di ba? When you say rising, it's going upward all the time. Therefore, the value is always positive for the rising. So take note, ha? When I say rising, it's going upward all the time. When I say running, pwede na ni siya ma-positive, pwede siya ma-negative. When can you say that the running is positive? It's simply going to the left or to the right.
Right.
To the right. That's
Right.
positive. Okay, so take note of that. When you go to the right, that's positive. If it's negative, then it's going to the left. So take note, in using this formula, rise over run, you always start with the bottom point. So, ang bottom point ani asaman, kini siya. So, diri ko mag-start kini. This will be 0. Yeah, the first line above, this is 1. This is 2. This is 3. Then, you have, this is 3. This is 4. This is 5. This is 6. Now, I will stop here because it is now aligned to our point. But that's the rising there. So, how much is the rising here? The rising is 6. Now, from the end point sa imong rising, dira na po ka mag-start. It's either you go to the right or to the left. Depends upon asa imuhang point nga destination. Now, the point of destination is going to the right. So, from here, you go to the right. And going to the right is positive. So, this is positive 1. This is positive 2. And this is positive 3. So, our denominator, the running, is 3. Kakuha giun sa pagkuha ang 6 ug ang 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's reduce our fraction. What is 6 over 3 when reduced? You reduce 6 over 3.
2.
2 or 2 over 1. That's 2 over 1 or simply 2. So the slope for this example, for example number 1, the slope of the line is 2. Okay? Questions about example number 1?
None.
Okay, let's proceed with example number 2 for further clarification. Now, again, you start at the bottom point. This point here, this is 0. This is the first line is 1. And you have 2. We have 3. And we have 4. Sorry. We have 4. This is 3. Why is it nga di siya masulat? Okay, there you go. Now, so our rising is 4. What about the running here? Is it running to the left or running to the right?
Left.
Left. So when you say left, it's negative. So expect nga ang atong denominator is negative. So this is negative here. Okay, let's do the counting. So dirita mag-start, mauning 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's negative 8. And you reduce 4 over negative 8. What's the simplest form for 4 over negative 8? Just reduce 4 over 8. Pila may common ni 4 ug ni 8?
4.
4. Oh, divided by 4. Divided by 4. So this becomes
1
1 over 2. Now take note, I have mentioned this. Avoid having a negative denominator. So bring the negative sign up or align it with the fraction bar. So it's either you'll have this answer or you'll have this answer. Questions about example number 2?
None.
Okay, let's go to example number 3. Example number 3. Okay, let's do the rising now. So the slope is equal to, so we have 0. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. The rising is 4. What about the running? That's to the left. So expect it's negative. So we have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. This is negative 5. This is 4 over negative 5. Now, is this your final answer, Section Galileo? What do you do with the negative sign? Okay. Very. Ibalhin sa numerator or align it with the fraction bar. So that is our fourth example. No, our third example. Let's have our fourth example. So, come on, though, you do the counting. What is or how much is the rising? How much is the rising? 7. Let's verify. This is 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. What about the running? 6. Is it negative 6 or positive 6?
Positive.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Positive 6. Is this your final answer or ma-simplify pa ni siya? Final answer. 7 over 6. Let's go over the examples. Now, in our first example, positive 2. sakto kay nga naman slanting from left to right. This one, negative 1/2. Okay, expect nga negative atong answer. Why? It's because our graph shows a line slanting upward from right to left. Okay? Same thing with this. Negative sa nasaya. This one, it should be a positive slope. Okay? Next, let's compare slopes. Asa kaha ang slope, asa nga line ani, which line has the greater slope and which line has the lesser slope? Is it the red line, the blue line, or the green line? What do you think, Section Galileo? Which among these lines has the greater slope? And if I'm going to rephrase the question, when I say which line has the greater slope, it's simply one way of asking which line is more steeper. Which line is steeper? The red line. What about the green line? It's less steep, right? It's less steep ang green. Let's verify that. Let's compute daw. Let's find the slope for the red line. What's the slope of the red line? Sige, you do the counting. I'm gonna be writing here the slope. What's the rising for the red line?
7.
7. Okay, let's write it down. We have 7 over how much?
2.
Over 2. Okay. What about the blue line? What is the slope of the blue line?
7/6.
7/6. What about the green line? What's the slope of the green line?
2/8.
2/7.
Okay, 2/7. Now, by simply examining the values of your numbers, which has the greatest value? Which among the numbers has the greatest value? 7/2, 7/6, or 2/7?
7/2.
7/2, meaning this one has the greater slope. This one. And this one has the least amount of slope. So take note, if padung na gani siya magbarog, as it approaches the vertical line, the slope increases. As it approaches the horizontal line, padung siya muhigda, the slope decreases. That's one way of comparing slopes. Okay? Now, let's continue. This time, what if you are given an equation? You are given an equation and you are gonna look for the slope and the y-intercept. Sir, what do you mean by the y-intercept? Okay, if I'm gonna have this graph, Section Galileo, this one, diba, this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. The point where the graph intersects the y-axis, this point here, that is what you call the y-intercept. It's the point on the graph where the line or the graph intersects the y-axis. The x-intercept is the point where the graph intersects the x-intercept. So take note of those two. But in this one, I will be focusing more on the y-intercept. So take note of this one. The slope-intercept form of the line. You have y equals mx plus b. Y comes first, followed by the equal sign, followed by the variable x. Take note, m is a number. And you have here your constant term. So again, first should be y, followed by the equal sign. Next is the variable y and the constant term. That should be the sequence, okay? And take note, m is your slope and b is the y-intercept. Now, let's have our first example. Now, this time, I will be using this card. I will be using my paint. Okay, let's continue. Okay. Now, this time, what if I'm going to give you y is equal to 3x plus 12? Okay, here's my question section, Galileo. Is this line in the slope-intercept form? Is the given line expressed in the slope-intercept form? Let's write that down. Let's write down the slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Examine. Nag-una ang y. Check. Followed by the equal sign. Check. Followed by the variable x. Check. Followed by the constant term. Check. Therefore, I will be able to determine the value of m and the value of b. Now, in this example, what is the value of m?
3.
3. Simple as that. This is the value of m. 3. What about the value of the b?
12.
12.
12.
There you go. That's 12. So, therefore, this is our m, and this one is our b. Let's have another example. What if I'm going to give you y is equal to 3x over 5 minus 11. So, take note, examine sa nato. Nag-una ang y, followed by the equal sign, followed by x, and the constant term. So, everything is in slope-intercept form. So, what is the value of the slope now? What's the value of the slope? Since this is in this form, mx plus b. What's the value of the slope?
3 over 5.
3 over 5. And what's the value of the y-intercept?
Negative 11.
Okay, so don't forget
11.
the negative sign. That's negative 11. In writing the slope, please do not write down the variable x. A slope is simply a constant. It's a number. It will not contain a variable. Okay? Let's have more examples on this. What if I'm going to have this one? What if I'll have 3x minus y. Oh, no, not that. Oh, 3x plus y equals 12. Now, here's my question. What are you going to do with this? Is this expressed in this form? Is your given equation written in the y-intercept form? In the slope-intercept form, I mean. No. What are you going to do with this? Oh, atong is slope-intercept form. So when I say slope-intercept form, mag-una dapat ang y, followed by equal, sunod ang x, sunod ang constant. Now, asa man ang wala siyahang tarong nga placement? Na may wala masuwat og tarong anis ayang proper place. Which term is that? 3x. Unsay buhaton nato ni 3x? We are gonna...
Balyan, sir.
Okay, transpose that. So I will be transposing that over here. That becomes... What will happen to 3x? That becomes...
Negative 3.
-3x. So I will bring down y. Bring down y is equal to -3x and bring down +12. So kaning y ug ang 12 i-bring down lang na sila. So what is the slope now?
Negative 3.
-3. What about the y-intercept?
12.
12. There you have it. Okay? Let's have more examples. What if you are given, let's have 8y plus 6x equals 32. -32. Positive lang na to. Ato lang ni positive. Okay. We have there 8y plus 6x equals 32. What are you going to do with this? You will be what? Which among the terms are you going to be transposing? Is it 8y or is it 8x? Or 6x, I mean. 8y or 6x?
Transfer 6x.
Okay, you transpose 6x to the other side. So bring down 8y. 6x becomes -6x plus 32. What are you going to do next? Well, take note, I will be writing y equals mx plus b. Y should be y alone. If it contains a number like this one, you will do something with that. Now, this is my question. What are you going to do for you to be able to cancel 8 in 8y? What are you going to do so that 8 here will be canceled out and you are left only with the variable y?
Divide siya 8, sir.
Very good. I will divide this by 8. And to be fair, with the other two terms, I will also divide both terms here by 8. So meaning, whatever is divided on this part should be divided also on the other terms. Okay? So I will be canceling 8 now. I am left with y is equal to... Now, let's reduce -6x over 8. What is common between 6 and 8? So this becomes 3.
And 4.
3 and 4. So what am I going to write here? This is
-3 over
-3x over 4 plus 4. Okay. So what's the value of the slope? -3 over 4. What about the y-intercept?
4.
4. There you have it. Okay? Now, let's have another example. Questions, by the way, section Galileo. Is everything clear so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. Let's have another example. What if I'm going to have this one? I'm going to have 4x minus 8y plus 20 is equal to 0. Okay, this one. What are you going to do with this?
Transfer negative.
Which among the terms are you gonna transpose? Which among the terms are you gonna transpose? Section Galileo, which among the terms are you gonna transpose?
4x.
4x. Okay, let's encircle that. Transpose 4x. What else?
Negative 8y.
Negative 8y. Take note. Ato isuwat ha. Y equals mx plus b. This is the right side. Sorry. This is the left side. The right side should contain y. The left side, or sorry, nabali na nun ni sir, mao din ni ang left side, mao ni ang right side. Right side. Okay. Now, the left side should contain the variable y. The right side should contain x and the constant term. Let's examine this one. Diba this is the left side. This is the left side of the equation. Asa may i-transpose ninyo, anabi? 4x is one thing. What's the other one term that you are gonna transpose?
Positive 20.
Positive 20. Because negative 8y is already in its right place. So negative 8y is in the left part already. That's correct. We will transpose this. This becomes negative 4x. What if I'm going to change this section, Galileo? I will change this to... Erase ani na to. I will erase this first, ha? Okay. What if I'm going to have this as negative lang? Negative 20. Okay. What if I'm going to have negative 20 there? What will happen to negative 20?
Positive 20.
That becomes positive 20. And what are you going to do next?
Divided by
Negative 8 divided by negative 8 divided by negative 8. And let's reduce this. So we have now, ato isa kagamay ha. There you go. So we have now, cancel negative 8, y is equal to, reduce negative 4x over negative 8.
negative one.
Negative, is it negative 1/2 or is it positive 1/2?
Positive 1/2.
Positive 1/2. So meaning, are you going to write 1 there or is it just x over 2? Is this correct, section Galileo? So take note. Kining ato ang 1/2 x is the same as x over 2. Kinesiya o kinesiya have the same meaning. So if you're gonna write it this manner, it's totally right. 1/2 x. Or if you're gonna write it as x over 2, it's totally correct also. Okay? What about this? Reduce 20 over 8. What's common between 20 and 8? 4. This becomes 5.
5 over 2.
Okay. Now, what is positive divided by negative? Negative. So, kini, negative over negative. That's why it's positive here. Is this example clear? Oh, what's the slope now? What's the value of the slope? 1/2. Okay. What about the y-intercept?
5 over 2.
Negative 5 over 2. Take note ha, naan ni imaginary 1 din he. Okay? Let's have another example. Last example ta. I'm gonna give you this equation. Let's have 4x minus, let's have 6y is equal to negative 18. Okay. This one, asa may atong i-transpose din he? 4x only. So this is now negative 6y is equal to negative 4x minus 18. And what are you going to do next? Divide everything by negative 6, correct? Cancel out negative 6. Reduce 4 over 6. That's 2x over 3. Divided by 2, divided by 2. That's 2/3. And positive naman ng negative over negative. Positive na siya. What about this one? Plus 3. That's totally right. And what is the value of the slope? 2/3. What about the value of the y-intercept? 3. Okay.